folks, this week we're going to talk with Brent Rose of Beyond. I really love this interview, James. And one of the things I love the most about it is how he spoke about agents being merchant advocates or client advocates, and how that advocacy tree, so to speak, permeates that organization. And that's really important, because it's not just that, as he was explaining, it's just not the agent being the client advocate, but the agent has his own advocate within the structure. And I think that that's really key to building a sales organization, don't you?
And especially a sales organization that's able to sell solutions the way that Beyond does.
Right.
I thought that was super interesting. And then tell us about the Insiders Report, Patti.
We're going to have some updates on consumer and merchant trends vis-a-vis payments. Not a lot of surprises, but a few things that kind of can give you some little nuggets when you're talking to your merchants.
And we even got a little bit of a scorecard for our industry, but I won't spoil alert.
Right. Won't do that. And James, your questions from the field, I love that this week.
Well,
Why don't you tell us a little?
Yeah, really, it was just an intro to how to sell software to SMBs, because we were just talking about that with Brent. So I thought it'd be a good time to talk about the free training course. I just got done making a training course. I'm allowing anybody in the industry to watch that particular course for free. And so if you get to the end there, I'll do a little bit of a intro about it. I should have mentioned too, you can head to our YouTube channel if you want to watch a replay of the live event I just did with Zuza on how to sell software. Just youtube.com/CC Sales Pro. But I'm really excited about this one. I think we got a great theme today, Patti. So let's dive in.
Welcome to the Merchant Sales Podcast.
Hey everybody, Patti and I are here today with Brent Rose, the Chief Revenue Officer at Beyond. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, James. How are you? How are you, Patti?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm glad that you're doing well too, my friend.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm really excited about today's podcast. This is a topic I've wanted to cover with Brent for quite a while, and that is, how do we get merchant sales teams to really embrace software and technology and value-added services? How do we get merchant sales reps to sell more than just merchant sales? So I'm excited about that. But of course, Brent, before we get into that, love to get your story a little bit. Can you tell us about your journey in this crazy industry, and then how you ended up as Chief Revenue Officer at Beyond?
Sure, absolutely. It's definitely been a journey, right? It spans nearly 3 decades, or just over 3 decades, really. So started in the industry back in the early 90s, really at that point, converting merchants from paper deposits and the old knuckle busters and so forth to electronic draft capture. And, that kind of grew and, operating on my own for many years, and then built out a first sales organization, and started to build a team around it, and something that, we do today as well, and really big focus. And we'll talk about, value-added products and solutions and services. Even back then, trying to create an opportunity where it wasn't just about the payments, trying to think ahead of, really where we were going to go.
Right.
So I think back, and one of the first value-added solutions we had was check verification and check presentment and so forth.
Right.
And that grew into gift card programs and loyalty programs. So really, that's been a focus of mine for a long time. So built a couple sales organizations, and had different impacts, different stories, I guess, in the industry, but really serviced on the not only building up the sales organization, but I had a lot of focus, and I had this technological background, or IT background, right? So we developed our first CRM platform and merchant onboarding platform back in the mid to late 90s, which was at that point just built on an Access database and so forth. But and even then we were ordering equipment through TPG on a dial-up connection and all those good things.
Right.
So trying to think ahead and just create an overall good experience, from the servicing side as well as the sales side in that process. So had a number of different careers throughout the last couple decades, really operating in emerging market segments, and really focusing in a previous life, building out the B2B platforms and some of those things, and engagements and integrations into the ERP systems and so forth. And I ended up, I started working with Bob Carr back in 97, and somehow back in 2000 or 2017, 4 years ago, I got a knock on the door or a call, and Bob said, "Hey, are you interested in doing something?" So started out with Beyond in 2017 as a division director, and over the course of the last couple of years grew into a VP role with emerging markets, and then into the chief sales officer role, and now chief revenue officer role, overseeing sales as well as marketing strategy and product development. So.
And that's a really cool organization that you're with. I mean, James and we spoke with Bob Carr back last year, was it?
Yeah, a few months ago.
Yeah, it's been a few. And just amazes me, seems to me like you're tracking him in terms of, evolving with the market, right? And so it sounds really exciting what you're doing there. Just if you don't mind, James, I just had a real side question. When you talk emerging markets, Brent, are you talking emerging form factors, or are you talking like, third world countries, emerging markets?
No, really, as it relates to positioning interchange in markets or vertical segments that have, typically not accepted payments.
Sure. Right. Emerging payments markets. Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get clear with that, because I know sometimes with me, I talk about emerging markets and I'm talking about, Asia, places like that. And I just wanted to make sure I was clear on where we are.
Sure. Yeah. So Brent, let's dive into this topic a little bit. So, getting a sales team to sell more than just merchant services is this challenge that like everybody in the market I talk to in our industry is like, we're trying to do this, we're failing. It has not worked very well. So can you kind of put this into scope for us a little bit? Why is this such a big problem, such a hairy problem, I guess? And then why is it so important to solve this one?
No, absolutely. And I think it's a really difficult solution, or really a difficult problem to solve, right? And I think it really comes down to the way that I look at how we develop software, right? So I think there's really two different approaches or strategies in software development, that you either enable the success or detract from it altogether. So when I look at software development, is curating a path for a bigger opportunity of engagement and ultimately market share. So you'll have success with payments professionals in that process. When you build software on the philosophy that the merchants are telling you what they really want, and you get a greater engagement from the payments professional because they understand the ecosystem or the commerce platform that's in the roadmap within the organization. So that's kind of the approach that I've always taken, and that's we're taking at Beyond today, is really understanding what's, tying the business advocate or the salesperson into the overall development process of the software that's being built. So, it comes down to the, why and how we build what we want, and I think about what we're doing with, simple VT and payment links, the simplicity of what we're trying to achieve, it works because we think about our customers. Our customers are our merchants and the sales organization as well. So, companies, and I'll think of like Apple again. Apple is always directing, where the market's going to go and delivering feature sets that they anticipate that the end user is going to want. So, the other scenario and how I view it is participation in the development with the sales organization, and then gaining that knowledge from how the customer is using that technology, tying those back together. So, in most cases, a lot of ISOs struggle selling POS and other solutions because I really view it as they're using it as a vehicle just to get to payments,
Right.
And as payments become more and more transparent and blended into those solutions, it becomes, more of a holistic value proposition for the seller,
right?
The client and the company.
Sure.
Right. Well, and it's like I recently was doing a training event about selling software, and I said, these people that are selling point of sale in order to get payments, it's like trying to sell somebody a car in order to get them to buy a house.
Right.
It's like
right.
the software is the sell. Like that's the value. That's the big piece. And so the payment processing fits into that. But the idea that you're going to lead off with merchant services and somehow back into a software sale sometimes can be a little bit challenging. So if you could kind of expound a little bit more, like when you think about Beyond Storefront, which I know is a product that has been popular, when you think about the development of that, Brent, how much of that was in consideration of the sales partner? In other words, are you trying to build a software that you think your salespeople can sell? Or are you trying to build a software purely based on what you think merchants want? Or is it kind of a combination? Can you talk a little bit about your process of developing the software?
Yeah, well, ideally it's both, right?
Right.
So, Beyond provides business tools and services for entrepreneurs, and that's kind of our full name, right? So,
right.
Those entrepreneurs are both our clients and our sales force. So, any product that we offer absolutely starts with consideration of those two markets. And it's exactly how we developed, Beyond Storefront. So, even before COVID, e-commerce was a key focus for Beyond.
Right.
Making it easier for salespeople to sell without having to understand all the nuance of the domain names, the web hosting, the shopping carts. We looked at, the merchant needs even before COVID. E-commerce is overwhelming for many. How can we make that better? Right. And then, once the pandemic hit in the US, the question itself, didn't change. Only the urgency increased and the size of the addressable, market increased. So, every business needs to sell online, whether you're technically savvy or not. So, let's build something that's simple, that makes your business look stylish online and, keeps your doors open while your physical doors are closed. And, looked at the big guys and what they did. And we looked at what our clients and our sales force were, again, asking for. And we started small. We built, minimum marketable product that, addressed the needs and rapidly expanded, the offering from there. Now almost a year from that initial release, we've, continuously released enhancements and improvements based really on the client and the sales feedback in order to, provide, both sets of entrepreneurs the best possible tools and services.
That's a really great segue to a question I had, Brent, and that is QR codes. That's like sort of a technology that's been kind of in the background for a while, but really seems to be coming to the forefront. And I'm wondering if you could speak to QR technology and the importance of that in the payment space, and how Beyond is, what you're doing to leverage this technology within your solutions.
It's a really good intro to the question because it is old technology.
Yeah, right.
It's interesting, how technology works, right? And the most important thing is when the adoption of it really happens.
Correct.
So, think about this. QR codes have been around for years. And then, QR codes in the context of payments are really all about simplicity and ease of, cardholder experience.
Right.
Simply snapping a QR with your phone can take you to a payment page, an invoice, a menu, and so on. But the QR code itself is only a gateway to that web application. So it's important to understand that the real experience from the cardholder's perspective, in my mind, comes from where the QR code takes them. From a merchant perspective, the possibilities are equally endless, right?
Sure.
So Beyond provides QR codes for the back office that, take merchants to our Beyond One commerce platform, where they can manage their payments, the reporting, the deeper analytics. But we're also leveraging QR codes in the card present space with our Beyond Select smart terminals. So, we'll display QR codes on the receipts that allow merchants to, quickly recall transactions for edits, refunds, voids, tip adjustments. And, from there, expansion to gift loyalty usage is, just kind of natural of this technology. And another item, both on our storefront and select roadmaps.
So Brent, this is so interesting. And I know you guys have so many technology solutions. One of the things that fascinates me about Beyond is you do have a lot of value added things that you can sell, whether it's payroll, point of sale technology, whatever it might be. So I think one of the big questions for our audience is, the sales process. How does this work? So you have all these things that you can sell. And so as your salespeople go out there, what do? Do they lead off and just, here's this massive solution? Is it about finding out the needs first? Like, can you talk a little bit about the sales process in general terms and how that usually flows?
Sure. And it's really interesting because on the sales side, we're attracting new business advocates from a multitude of different industries, right? So one of the things that makes it's one of the things that makes our sales team very impressive to me, is that we bring in those individuals with different backgrounds and from many different industries and various skill sets. So the process that we encourage from the field is meeting the client where they are, becoming a true advocate for their business. And, and if a particular sales rep uncovers a gap that one of our products could fill, they'll explore it with them at that point. The intention on each meeting is to help the client learn how our products can create more efficiencies in their business. So if that's by implementing multiple products at once, that's definitely something we can do. The business advocates, take the approach that works for them, for their selling style, and for the client they're meeting with. The follow-up sales process, which is really important in our overall retention efforts and bringing new products to the market, is what I call the service after the handshake, right? It all goes back to that quality assurance review that you're doing with your existing clients, staying in front of them, staying in touch with them, and then proposing additional solutions that are going to benefit and bring value to their business and bring efficiencies, and that includes, payroll, business solutions, analytics, and even feature sets that we add to Storefront or our VT or Select or something else.
One of the things I wanted to touch on real quick as a follow-up to that, because Brent, I love what you're talking about. And I think it's such an untapped resource in our industry for a lot of agents and ISOs, where I'll talk to them and they literally have 300 merchant accounts, 200 merchant accounts. And I'll say, when is the last time that you went back through those to address their needs? And they say, oh, I already sold them, and I'm like, man, I remember when I got somewhere around 150, 200 merchant accounts personally. This is like 12 years ago. And it was like, I all of a sudden woke up one day and realized I'm set, I'm going to keep growing this thing. But, I would go around, I would sell 2 or 3 point of sale systems a month. I also sold payroll processing. I would add that in there. I had a marketing, we do like web design stuff. And it was like, oh my, I loved it. You just go help these business owners out. And then you still have your prospecting time. But are you seeing that like I am, Brent, where it's like, I feel like a lot of the industry is just kind of this idea like, well, we sold them payment processing. So it's like, whatever we can sell them up front, we'll sell them up front. And then it's like, well, good luck. And then it's like, why is our attrition so high? Well, maybe because they haven't seen you for the last 3 years, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It seems so simple, right, James? Is that you just go back and you service your clients. And I think about this from a revenue standpoint. I look at it like this. We all have a checking account, right? And when you get a check, you deposit it. Might be virtual, might be a QR scan in, or whatever the case may be at this point.
Right.
But every time you write a check out, you're taking that withdrawal is coming out. We don't. We try to really balance that out from our perspective at Beyond, and that's why that a quality assurance review and follow up with your clients is so important, because you're right. The idea of bringing in 25 new clients and then losing 50% of them, you're just never creating any retention or revenue growth from it. That's really the focus that we build our sales process around.
Both you and James mentioned payroll service, and that kind of sparked an interest in me, because it seems to me that that's almost a no-brainer, right? But I'd like to talk, if you could just delve into that a little bit. Why did you choose to offer payroll processing, and how in particular something like payroll processing contribute to overall merchant satisfaction and lower attrition?
Sure.
Or does it affect attrition? I would think it would.
Right. Well, it really comes down to that one throat to choke, if you will. trying to be that one source of contact or that one extension solution provider to the merchant, where the merchant can reach out to their business advocate, their sales advocate, their our service advocates, and get one answer, right? Just having that one phone call to make and get a resolution if they're experiencing a problem. And we have kind of a unique approach to the payroll industry. We have individuals that have come from a background selling payroll with ADPs and paychecks and so forth, and that really becomes their key focus. That's how they start building their business. The other side of that, Patti, is to introduce what we call simple payroll to all of our business advocates.
And what is that? Like a scaled back version of a high end payroll service?
It can fill all the gaps, but in all honesty, sure, it's checking the boxes. Do we meet your specific needs? Is it 25 or 15 and under employees? Do you have an online payroll service where we can pull the reports and we can do the implementation? And then we'll actually engage them with, one of our payroll experts, to run through a demo. And as the business advocates understands how to sell more and more payroll, they can graduate, if you will, to getting into, WOTC credits and some of HR on demand and some of our additional value add solutions there. So that becomes kind of the next transition for them in their sales career.
Yeah. I like that. I've always thought payroll was an obvious one because it's kind of the old credit card processing pitch of cost savings when it comes to payroll. I mean, it's kind of utilitarian. It's like your people get paid every week.
And, you have to do it.
Right. But the one thing I think is interesting, Brent, I don't know if you've found this, but payroll processing, the level of service expectation versus payment processing is dramatically different. I mean, our company, out of all the vendors that we have, without a doubt, the one we talk to the most is our payroll provider. Because, we gave this person a raise, this person got let go, this person changed a salary, there's a lot of stuff. And so I think it's definitely much more of a service oriented approach, but it's nice. You have that same concept of residual income and the cost structure that I think does kind of pair, pretty well with merchant services.
Well, and just to add on to that, I think the concept of bundling is really important as well, right? Yes. Let's try and hold some margin on your payment business and maybe discount your payroll or vice versa, right? So, the perceived value from the merchant is really good, but we're kind of building those retention efforts behind it. And, it's really a win-win for the business advocate as well as the merchant.
For sure. So I think I'd love to just keep talking for a long time about this stuff, but I do want to get back for a second to getting the sales team up and going with selling software and these value-added services. So I think a good last question here would be to talk about sales team management and structure a little bit. It's no secret that the large chunk of our industry really lacks structure of any kind when it comes to sales management. And so what I was curious from your perspective is, beyond having what I consider to be a really nice structure in place, how big of an impact does that have on, training and getting these salespeople to the point where they can bundle services and they can sell these different things, and you can hold them accountable to some of these metrics and add-ons and things of that nature? Tell us a little bit about the sales team structure and how you feel that impacts your ability to, bundle services together and sell value added.
Sure. So, everything really, everything comes down to the managers. So think about it, I think about it that way. The management team can't possibly ask their direct reports to sell a product if they can't represent it themselves.
Right.
So with our management structure in place so that the teams can trust their leadership and turn to them for that help. So, we really look at two aspects to this. We have the new hire orientation that we go through, but we also have, return to learn from them. And more importantly is that division director and team lead learning process, that sales enablement for them, because ultimately they're the ones, directly in the field, in the markets, working with their team, shoulder to shoulder. So they have to have a real important understanding of the products and solutions we sell. So we do a lot of training with management, and that really carries down to the reinforcement of the training that we do with new hires and business advocates. That advocacy is really, it's a recurring theme within our entire organization. And the internal support representatives are advocates for each other, the sales organization, as well as the merchants.
Mm-hmm.
Our corporate product resources, advocates for sales and industry trends. And so, and we refer to our sales representatives as those business advocates, and then kind of build around them with that management structure, in place.
Yeah. I love it. So, Brent, always great information. I think for our audience, I know a lot of them are probably, maybe they're not familiar with Beyond and they're probably interested in learning more about it. Could you take just a second to share with our audience, what are the types of people that are a good fit for Beyond? And if they might fit that criteria, where would they go to learn more about you and about your company? Sure.
So there's really three pillars that we've built Beyond on and continue to build it upon. And I referred to them a little bit earlier in our conversation. It's the business advocates, our sellers. It's our sales advocates or sales enablement advocates, which is our sales training, sales enablement, product development team. And then most importantly, I think one thing that really separates us apart is our service advocates. We don't have a call center. We don't have a ticketing system. We have a service center that's servicing not only our business advocates, supporting our sales enablement, and obviously supporting our merchant base as well. Beyond, we're an organization of self-starters, who are
Right.
striving to make connections in their local business communities. With members of the sales organization across the country, I'm pleased to hear how connected our corporate employees are to the salespeople. The teams get very few opportunities to work face to face, but the drive to excellence in their work leads itself to that approach. And the experience in the industry has always been always a good running start, but positive work ethic and the desire to be an advocate are the ingredients for success. And we're looking to fill all of those roles in honesty. As we continue to grow, we need to build out our sales organization with those advocates. We need to continue building out our sales enablement and product development team, as well as our corporate employees. So you can go to career.getbeyond.com and get more information about the opportunities that are available to you in different markets. And you'll also notice there are some of two of the really key components that back our business model are the 10 promises for our sales advocates, business advocates, as well as the 10 promises for our merchant clients.
Right.
Yeah. Great stuff. Brent, as always, it's a pleasure speaking with you. I think our audience, hopefully they got a lot of good stuff out of that. I know some people will reach out, but I think it's just great that you guys are sharing with the industry and kind of helping the industry learn a little bit of how do we get our team to sell software and value-added services. So thank you so much for taking time to be with us today, Brent.
Yeah, really good stuff, Brent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Thank you, Patti. It's been a pleasure to join you.
So Patti, Valor Paytech actually ended up being one of the main sponsors of the SEAA this year.
Oh, that's going to be fun in the sun, right?
Fun in the sun. I'm going to be there. I'm on a panel. I'm excited about it. So I'll be up there speaking. I should say down there, I guess, in Florida.
Yes.
But if you're there and you've been listening to our podcast, do me a huge favor if you're at the SEAA, okay? I want you to go to the Valor booth. You'll see it. It's there big. Go to the Valor booth and let them know and say, hey, I heard about you guys on the Merchant Sales Podcast.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk to you. Let them know you heard about us on the podcast. That will help us out. And also it'll help you because you're going to get a chance to interact with them, see the hardware, see the software, understand a little better. So if you're going to be at the SEAA, definitely make sure you look me up. I'll be walking around there somewhere so you can see me. And then also make sure you head over to the Valor booth and check that out.
And I think, it's a great idea that people go check it out, because it's one thing when you can see it on a Zoom,
right?
Online, but actually being there, and then you can, have the one-on-one. I think it's a great idea. So definitely head on over there. And if you aren't at SEAA, you can always go to ccsalespro.com/VALOR and get a free demo.
And now, here is questions from the field with James Shepard.
Well, so Patti, it's only been like a few days ago that I did my big live event on how to sell software to small and medium business owners. I thought, well, that's a pretty good segue from what we were just talking about there with Brent.
With Brent, sure.
Right? How to sell software. So, I think the tips that, we pulled from that and had a really, really fun event is, if you really want to sell software, and I think Brent just echoed a lot of these same things, is that if you really want to sell software to small, medium business owners, it really does need to be a focus. I talked a lot in the live event about ways that you can make this transition without going full blown, I'm done selling payments, but you do have to have that mental shift to start thinking of yourself a little bit differently, thinking of yourself as that software sales professional.
Right.
And so what I find is I'm talking to agents today that are trying to figure this out. Generally the biggest issue is they cannot make that mental shift in their identity. They're not shifting their identity from a payments expert to a software expert. They just, in their mind, it's like, well, I'm not a software expert. Well, no, you're probably not. And so you need to become one,
right?
At least in your own mind. And, when you say a software expert, I mean, when I started selling payment processing.
You were a payments expert, right?
within a couple of weeks, I knew significantly more than my prospects did about payments.
Right. And that's all that really matters.
That's all that matters. That's how you're going to come across the right way. And the same thing with software. The other key is, though, you say, well, how do I become a software expert? There's all these different softwares and different business types. Well, that's why I talked in the event about you want to sell one software solution to one vertical, and you want to focus on one feature or value proposition.
Right.
And you can become an expert at that. Within 2 weeks, anybody listening right now, within 2 weeks, you could become an expert at software for inventory management. You can become an expert at online appointment scheduling for hair salons. If you pick a vertical and you pick one software and one feature set, you can absolutely become an expert at that. And so all I really want to do today is very, very quick segment for me. I actually just wanted to give away my free training course. So if you go to ccsalespro.com/training, so it's ccsalespro.com/training. If you're already one of our All Access Pass members, the course is already there. It's loaded up. Just click on it and you can watch it. If you're not one of our subscribers yet, I'm doing a 14-day free trial. I feel like 14 days should be plenty of time for you to get through the course. It's only about 2.5 hours. And so you can go through it slowly and get through the whole thing for free. If you don't find any more value in the other 40 video courses I have, just cancel. If you do find value in it, then the subscription will start after that point. But you can get a free 30-day trial. So just head over to ccsalespro.com/training. And then if you're an ISO listening and you have a team of people, we are customizing that training course, branding it for ISOs already. And so we have a lot of ISOs that subscribe to our training for all of their agents. Very, very cost effective if you have a good sized team. Just reach out to John on our team. It's JON@ccsalespro.com. So it's JON@ccsalespro.com. Let him know you got a sales team and you want access to the training. Again, you could go to ccsalespro.com/training to see some of the types of courses we have available, but then talk to John. He can get that customized for you. So really today, just want to do a plug for our training. And I really believe it's something that our industry needs. And it's something that I literally have taken the last year or so of my life to, it's like these courses, it took me like 2 weeks to shoot it, but it really took me 2 years to figure out how to shoot it because, I would start and I joke around with Danny McHale from Zuza because he was working with me on it a little bit. And, he would email me every once in a while. Hey, I had another ISO ask about when this course is going to be done. How are we doing? And it's like, I said, well, I shot it and then I threw it away, and then I shot it again and I threw it away. And then I shot it again and I threw it away because I would talk to people, in my consulting practice or talking to agents. And to me, I can make a training course that sounds good easily, but making one that sounds good that actually works and is correct and implement, you can implement it and it's going to work. That's a lot harder, but I feel very confident with what we have. So if you're looking to make that transition, definitely grab the training. I think you're going to love it.
Excellent. Thanks, James.
This is the Insider's Report with Patti Murphy.
So this week, folks, on Insider's Report, I want to share some data from some recent consumer and small business surveys. There's a new report out from the ETA and the Strawhecker Group that shows digital payments really taking off, as we've discussed in the past. But I just thought putting some hard numbers to this would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
So Strawhecker did a survey of SMB, small, medium-sized businesses, in April. And they now see digital payments as more important to the business than it was prior to the pandemic. And to that, 44% are now accepting digital wallets, which makes digital wallets the third most common form of payment behind credit and debit cards and cash, which still blows my mind. 64% are, is the cash number. 70% for cards and 44% for digital payments.
When you say that's the cash number, what do you mean? That's the amount of revenue that's coming in as cash, or that's
no? How many merchants are accepting cash as a common form? What are the three most common forms of payment you're accepting?
And 64% of them said cash was one of those top three.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Okay. Which I still think is, that's a whopping number considering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just surprised because we've talked so much about people not wanting to use cash.
Right.
Contactless payments using either a card, a chip card, or a digital wallet continue to gain favor. More than a third of merchants say they've seen an increase in contactless payments. And it's about, that's compared to last year when about a quarter had seen an increase in contactless payments. So, that's why the cash number still blows my mind. But, debit cards are gaining. 16% of merchants say they're seeing more debit card payments than they did prior to the pandemic, which I think goes to people wanting to spend the money they have as opposed to running up credit card balances.
Right.
And a quarter of SMBs have added new sales channels in the past year. 13% have incorporated buy now, pay later.
Okay. Wow.
26% have implemented mobile apps. 30% offer in-store contactless payments. 15% have adopted e-commerce solutions, and 17% offer online delivery and pickup. I thought that e-commerce solution number was interesting given our interview with Brent today, and how they've been really, moving forward on e-commerce. They also found a couple attitudinal changes among merchants that seem promising for, merchant sales reps. 30% of SMBs feel somewhat or very supported by their payment services providers.
What was that percentage again?
30%.
30%?
But a reminder, last year it was 25.
Our industry has made exciting gains. We now have slightly more than a quarter of our customers think we're doing a good job.
But isn't that, that just blows my mind that it's not like
I'm not sure
30%.
I'm not sure what's more surprising, the fact that it's 30% or the fact that that's an increase.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And 43% think digital payments are either somewhat or much more important. Now, I wanted to also just give you another set of data points that came out of MasterCard, which I thought was interesting. They commissioned Harris pollsters to survey thousands of consumers around the world.
Okay.
And, uncovered what I think are some noteworthy trends. 63% of consumers have tried a new payment method in the past year that they otherwise would not have tried.
Wow.
That's pretty big. And the
huge.
three most popular being contactless, QR codes, and biometric, which I think must be in other parts of the country. I don't see that here at all. But I can see that in some, developing nations.
Yeah, for sure.
93% said they are more likely to try at least one emerging payment method in the next year. So that's almost all, better than 9 out of 10.
Wow.
And the top three for that were contactless, biometric, which again, I think is, not in the US, cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, sure.
I was, not totally surprised by that, but I'm still kind of whacked by that. I don't know if you, we've talked about that in the past, but
right.
I remember you were mentioning Dogecoin a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
And I was watching
A lot of people call it Dogcoin because
right. I know,
dog on
but technically it is Doge.
Yeah.
In fact, you kind of like stopped me in my tracks.
I always call it Dogcoin because
I know.
Because Elon Musk kind of started the whole thing of all this, and it has the picture of the dog right on it.
I know. When you said that the other day, I had to do a double take, and it was like, oh, that's what he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
But Elon Musk was on Saturday Night Live the other night,
right?
And they had this little thing about explain to us about cryptocurrencies, right?
Right.
And he's giving these, well, it's a representation of money. Yeah, but what is it? And finally he's like, it's a scam. Actually, he said it's a hustle. That's what he said.
It's a hustle. It's a hustle. Yeah.
The next day, or the next trading day, Dogecoin or Dogcoin took like a nosedive, and I thought, wow, that just shows you how how that particular cryptocurrency rises and falls on one man's words,
Well, that's because that's all there is. There's nothing else to it. So
right, exactly.
It's all confidence. The confidence is there or it's not. So
right. So anyway, a couple more data points. Cash and chip cards, according to consumers surveyed by Harris, cash and chip cards are the most secure form of payment.
Cash and chip card. Okay.
Yep. 68% each of for each of those, were considered. Digital money transfer followed that with 64% of consumers who felt that was secure.
Okay.
Mobile wallets were close behind with 59%.
Okay.
Now, not surprisingly, consumers in emerging markets, many of which have already leapfrogged the U.S. in terms of
payments
technologies, are far more likely to like these digital types of transactions than are consumers in the U.S. and Europe.
Right.
And I think that's when you look at if you look at the global market for payments and how large some of these population centers are in the emerging markets, the fact that they've leapfrogged over things like credit cards and cash is just like rocketing the overall volumes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I think clearly there's a lot of change in the air, and I think COVID definitely pushed a lot of these trends forward a little faster than we anticipated.
Yeah, I think, like a lot of us said, I think even as Brent was mentioning today, QR codes, they've been around forever. Now people are really looking at QR codes for payments.
It's an easy form of contactless.
It's the easiest form of contactless, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So I was interested. I don't know how much TV you watch. I'm a late night TV watcher, and I've seen a bunch of commercials lately like, take a picture of this QR code and we'll send you. It's like, wow, even on the commercials now, but they're putting a big QR code on the screen.
Yeah, fastest way to get into somebody's phone is with the QR code. So
yeah,
I love it. Wow, great stuff, Patti. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure, thank you, James.
This episode of the Merchant Sales Podcast was brought to you by Valor Paytech, the technology company that is revolutionizing cash discounting and surcharging with innovative features like dual mid support, waive the fee options, and even adding non-cash adjustment charges to tips. Now, all of this is made possible by a variety of technology devices and solutions such as gateways, tabletop point of sale devices, and features like SMS text messaging and e-invoicing, all with cash discounting in mind. Valor Paytech, bold ideas, smart execution. Make sure you head over to ccsalespro.com/Valor, VALOR, ccsalespro.com/Valor, VALOR. Schedule your free demo today and watch videos and learn more about this amazing technology solution.
Thank you for listening to the Merchant Sales Podcast. Whether you are an industry veteran, processing executive, or just trying to learn about the payment space, we appreciate your time. The Merchant Sales Podcast is a joint production of greensheet.com and ccsalespro.com, and we hope you will tune in next week for more information and tips on building your merchant services business.